Hello everyone, Lord Daimyo here, and with the information that we have received from Candy Flurry, manga chapters 10 and 11, we've seen some of the villains, specifically a villain group, and this includes their leader, who is the evil lollipop user that destroyed Tokyo. So we got a couple pictures that shows this whole villainous group, or major parts of them. And I thought it would be fun today to just talk about, speculate, theorize, and maybe see what kind of powers they would have, or just anything else about them. Let's just talk about the villain group, shall we? Okay, so the first real information, any information we got, was with this guy. This is the popcorn user. We don't have a name for him yet. And we actually have some information here from the artist who does the work for Candy Flurry, who is named Santa Mitarashi. And on Twitter, a fan asked him what was the name of the new Candy character. That is, of course, referring to the popcorn user. And he replied, "It may be revealed in later developments." So, this was before we knew. I think this was in chapter 8 or 9 when this information came out, and since then it has been revealed, Tsumugi had defeated the popcorn user, but the gum user came and took him back. So, we know the popcorn user is part of the villains, the super villains group. And we also were introduced to the gum user, this guy with long hair. So the only other one that we saw a really good look at was, of course, the evil lollipop user. So it's kind of be hard to sort of differentiate between some of these people since we don't have names for them. So I think for the popcorn user, I'll just call him Popcorn. The gum user, I'll just call him Gum. And the evil lollipop user, I'll just call him Lollipop. Now, as far as all these other characters, this picture is what we got at the end of chapter 10. And it shows the villainous group in an abandoned train car while they are talking about the popcorn user being defeated, or Popcorn being defeated by Tsumugi. And what it shows here is maybe all or part of the villainous group. And we see here, starting at the right, we've got a character who's in a mask, and I'll just call him Mask. And then we have a woman who is smoking. I'll just call her Smoker. And then we've got the popcorn guy way back there. And then in the very back, we see someone with a cane. So I'll call this person Cane. And that looks like that's everyone on the right side. So if we start in the back on the left, we just see Gum just sitting on the floor. And then closer to us, we have a character who looks like he has lighter colored hair on the top and darker colored hair on the bottom. And this person who, also has like a coat. This person, a lot of people have been joking, saying it looks like Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen. So let's just call this guy Hard, and I'll show you guys later why I'm calling him Hard. And then we see this other guy with black spiky hair with this coat covering his mouth. So this character, people also jokingly said, was Megumi from Jujutsu Kaisen as well. So we'll just call this guy Spike. And then at the very foreground, we have a pant leg, like an ankle. And I'm thinking this is Lollipop. So I think it's just not a full picture of him, but it does show him later. So the reason why I'm calling Hard is because at the end of chapter 11, we got this picture here, which shows these three villains coming to wreak some havoc on Tsumugi School. And we, of course, have Gum, Mask, and Hard. And you can see his shirt here says Hard on it. That's why I'm calling him that. So, let's do some sort of speculation, okay? So we already know 3 of these characters' sweet abilities. Popcorn, Gum, and Lollipop. I think we can assume that every single one of these has a sweet ability because every villain that we've seen thus far has a sweet ability. And I believe it was also stated that they are a super villainous group of sweet ability users. So, another thing is we did not know their motive on why Popcorn attacked the Reset trainee exam until the beginning of chapter 11, where the Reset agents were speculating that they were after the trainees' confeto, which would enhance their strength, probably in correspondence to their sweet abilities, which would make them pretty unstoppable, or at least up to par with the Stella Entremont, because if those 5 users of the Reset have sweet abilities and they can use confeto, they should be the top tier. So if the villainous group gets some confeto, then they would be on the same level or better than the 5 Stella Entremont, which includes EDA. We know another motivation for this group is Lollipop's motivation to kill Tsumugi. I'm not sure why he would want to kill Tsumugi if she could be framed for destroying Tokyo, which we are assuming he did with his lollipops. So why would you want to kill someone that you could frame? And if they captured Tsumugi, then they wouldn't suspect you. So, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, Tsumugi's already convinced 2 Reset agents that she's not the lollipop user, the evil one. So maybe she could have convinced more. So maybe Lollipop knows that. But besides that, we really don't have any other motivation on why this villainous group are doing these villainous things. So we already know Popcorn, Gum, and Lollipop. Let's speculate on some of the other users' sweet powers. So we'll start over here on the right with Mask. Now, I think the only unique things that we could take away, because really if we're just judging on physical appearances, Popcorn had the spiky hair that sort of looked like an explosion, which could relate to Popcorn. And also Gum has the long hair, which could be seen as, when you stretch out Gum. Other than that, their physical appearances really couldn't lend itself to what ability they have. So if we're doing that, or if we're taking anything we can, then I think Mask's ability would have to do something with his mask, or right here on his right hand and his right knee to calf, it looks like he has some tattoos. And these tattoos look kind of weird. They look just like black squiggles or marks or something. So this might be a sign. Who knows? Perhaps this could be like an ink-based candy. What that would be, who knows? I'm just thinking of other weird black squiggle shapes, maybe like a licorice or something of that sort. And something to do with a mask where you would cover your mouth. I mean, who knows? Maybe some sort of sucker, but that might be too close to Lollipop, so who really knows? But I think we will get to find out in chapter 12, because he was one of the 3 that is going to attack the school at the end of chapter 11. Okay, let's move on to Smoke. So this looks like the only female, and all we can really tell from her is she is smoking, which is very unfortunate. But the only thing that's coming to mind would be, I mean, they had candy cigarettes, but those were like gum. Maybe cotton candy. Maybe she's able to exhale cotton candy or candy floss, and maybe it seems like that's what the smoke is. Who knows? I think that would probably be a pretty cool sweet power for her anyways. I've always thought, Candy Floss is one of my favorite sweets, so I always thought Candy Floss would be pretty cool to ensnare people. It'd be a good defensive ability. You could just expand it into vast amounts and just capture people. So who knows? If you guys have any ideas on these two, let me know. So then we've got Popcorn, and then we have this person with the cane in the back, and I think this one's pretty obvious. That has to be a candy cane. It has to be a candy cane or a peppermint stick. How perfect would it be if that, it just makes sense. That cane is a candy cane, just a peppermint stick candy cane. So, which I think would be a cool sort of melee weapon, sort of how Tsumugi uses her stick on her lollipop. We've got Gum. We've seen what all he can do. He tends to have spider-like abilities, which is a pretty cool and unique effect for Gum. And then we've got Hard. So we have really nothing based on this picture, but if we go back to what he's showing us at the end of chapter 11, his shirt has the word Hard on it, and he has these two earrings that we also see in the other picture. So maybe since these two earrings are just like small black balls, perhaps he has the sweet ability of hard candy, maybe Jawbreakers or some other, circular hard candy. So I think a Jawbreaker ability would be pretty insane. I would assume that would be much, much stronger than Tsumugi's lollipop, because while it was able to withstand a popcorn explosion, it was severely cracked, and we've seen it crack before a couple times. So perhaps she would have a very difficult time with Hard because of his hard candy being strong enough to destroy her lollipop, but not do any damage to his Jawbreakers. So then the last person we have here is Spike. He's just covering his mouth and has spiky hair. There's really no way of knowing except for just a pure random guess. So I don't know, he looks cool, and a lot of the stuff that I've mentioned before is kind of candy related, and my mindset's still stuck in candy when it should be to more sweets, because we've had ice cream and donuts and macaroons and popcorn even. So I don't know, perhaps a brownie, or maybe who knows? Who knows? That's just sort of my guesses, my predictions for all of these villains. Let me know in the comments what you think. But I would say clearly the weakest member would have to be Popcorn, because we saw him first and saw him being defeated fairly easily by Tsumugi. So then we also see Hard, Mask, and Gum showing up at the school at the end of chapter 12, so it looks like they will be the next weakest. My prediction, besides of course Lollipop being the toughest, would be Spike. I think since he's right there next to presumably Lollipop, that he must be pretty strong. Plus we get nothing from him visually to suggest he's not super tough, so I think he is. But that's just my predictions for their powers and their strengths. Now, let's look at something that's been a bit of a concern for me, and I know a concern for some other readers of Candy Flurry. So, we have seen Lollipop very early on in the story, chapter 10. And I know that really isn't saying much, because we also saw Shigaraki from My Hero very early on. We saw Blackbeard, who's presumably going to be the final villain in One Piece, fairly early. So we've seen the final villains early on in stories. But this also seems like it's being a bit rushed, or that this manga isn't going to last but maybe 100 chapters. I certainly hope that's not the case, and I certainly hope this manga does not get canceled. but it does certainly seem a little too soon to be introducing the major villain immediately. And then when you think about it, Tsumugi joining the reset after just 11 chapters also seems fairly quick, but I mean, how I imagine it is her doing missions and fighting these villains until she finally gets to Lollipop, and maybe even fighting him a couple times until she defeats him. But yeah, I seriously thought we were going to be, a couple chapters before we met any of these people again. And then I and everyone else was shocked by seeing Mask Hard and Gum just show up at the end of chapter 11. So it looks like we're going to have a fight with these characters and Irie, Misaki, and Tsumugi in chapter 12, 13, 14, 15, maybe up to like 16 or 17. Maybe it'll just be a big long fight, because I know the fight against Popcorn was 2-3 chapters long, so times 3, maybe 6, 7 chapters long. So that would be cool. And then I'd kind of like it if with their defeat they decide to replan or re-strategize for something else, while Tsumugi and Umino, which I hope comes back in the story, while they are reset agents and they start doing their training and stuff. So hopefully that's how this will happen. It is very concerning seeing all these characters, and even more of these characters, 10 and 11 chapters in. But hopefully the pacing and the timing and everything starts stretching out again, and we are hopefully in for the long haul for this manga. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. But yeah, that was I just wanted to talk about this supervillain group and possibly guess on their sweet abilities or anything else like that, or their motives or anything. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about all this. You can follow me on Twitter. My link is in the description. I follow everyone back. Thank you very much for watching. Have a fantastic day.